Close your eyes. Hear the sound of a roaring Italian engine, a vibrant open-air life in Brescia, Italy, filled with laughter and freedom. Now, hear the silence of a small, dusty Pakistani village, Mangowal. It is April 2018. In one world, 25-year-old Sana Cheema was a woman of fierce independence, an Italian citizen, and most importantly, a woman in love. She was planning her future, her wedding, her real life. She was free. But in the other world, the one of her family's making, she was a symbol of rebellion. She went to Pakistan on a family vacation and never came back. When the news reached Italy, it wasn't delivered as a tragedy, but as a dismissive footnote. Sana was dead. Cause of death? A sudden, unspecific illness. They buried her within days, a hasty, silent ritual performed under the crushing heat of a Gujarat sun. But a death that is clean on paper can leave a gruesome stain on the soul. Sana's friends in Italy knew their friend didn't just die. She vanished. And they were certain that the only thing that had killed her was the terrible, suffocating weight of her family's pride. We must ask a terrifying question. What kind of honor demands a daughter's life? But to understand how we got here, how a dream of a modern life ended 6 feet under the earth in a traditional grave, we must go back to the beginning, to the joy, the ambition, and the love story that became her death sentence. Let's rewind to Brescia, a bustling, beautiful city in northern Italy. This was Sana Cheema's world. This was where she grew up, where she went to school, where she earned her Italian citizenship. She wasn't just a face in the crowd. She was a beacon. Friends described a young woman who was fiercely independent, a lover of life, a dreamer who had successfully built a bridge between her heritage and her modern reality. She loved her Italian life. She had ambitions, plans that stretched far beyond the confines of a village in Pakistan. And she was in love. Deeply, truly, irrevocably in love with a Pakistani-Italian man from Brescia, a partner who shared her vision for a life built on mutual respect and modern choices. This was the life she was building, a fusion of two worlds, anchored by her own agency. But Sana's family, particularly her father, Ghulam Mustafa, and her brother Adnan, held a different, older vision. In their eyes, Sana's modern chosen love was a threat, a stain on a fragile generational concept of family honor. The clock was ticking down to a fateful date, a planned trip back to Pakistan to visit relatives in Gujarat. For Sana, it was a routine family visit. For her family, it was an opportunity, a final chance to exert control, to secure the marriage they wanted, to a relative in Pakistan, and to finally snuff out the unacceptable flame of her Italian romance. Little did Sana know, as she boarded that plane, clutching her passport, the symbol of her freedom, that she was flying directly into a trap. Mangowal. The atmosphere in Mangowal was immediately heavy, a stark contrast to the easygoing life Sana had left behind in Brescia. The purpose of her visit became chillingly clear almost immediately. It was not a vacation, it was an ultimatum. Her father and other relatives began to pressure her, relentlessly pushing her toward the arranged marriage they had selected. The wedding date, they insisted, was looming. But Sana, backed by her fierce modern resolve, stood her ground. She was an Italian citizen. She was an adult. She was in love. Imagine the scene. A daughter trying to logically explain her love and her right to choose to men bound by ancient, unyielding traditions. The air must have been thick with silent conflict, with arguments that rose in pitch and then fell back into a terrifying quiet. Every time Sana refused, every time she spoke the name of the man she truly loved, she was not just voicing dissent. She was, in the eyes of her family, chipping away at their most sacred, dangerous possession, their honor. What began as a joyful trip to reconnect with family was quickly unraveling into a psychological prison. Sana was trapped between two worlds, the freedom she had tasted and the patriarchy that now sought to consume her whole. She was reaching out, messaging her friends back in Italy, talking about the unbearable pressure, the non-stop demands. She was fighting, she was resisting, she was alive. Then, the messages stopped. The official story, the one the family tried to cement with the silence of the earth, was swift and deceptive. Sana Cheema died of a chronic ulcer and sudden acute hypotension, low blood pressure. She was quickly interred in the local graveyard in Gujarat. Done. But a death that is silent rarely goes unquestioned. Back in Italy, Sana's friends and the tight-knit Pakistani community in Brescia refused to accept the sanitized clinical explanation. This was a young, vibrant woman. Ulcer, hypertension. It simply didn't ring true. News of her sudden death, paired with the family's rush to bury her, spread like wildfire on social media, a digital outcry that would eventually pierce the wall of silence. It was this public outcry, fueled by the terrifying suspicion of an honor killing, that forced the hand of the Pakistani authorities. The pressure mounted, reaching from the cobbled streets of Brescia all the way to the heart of Punjab. An investigation was opened, and then came the moment that ripped the family's facade to shreds: the exhumation. Police and forensic experts arrived at the graveyard. Under the cold glare of a Pakistani sun, the soil was disturbed. We can only imagine the chilling atmosphere as they lifted the remains of Sana Cheema, the girl who died because she wanted to choose her own husband. The preliminary findings were a punch to the gut, a horrifying testament to the darkness her family had tried to bury. The clinical, fabricated story of an ulcer evaporated instantly. Sana Cheema was not ill. The forensic report confirmed the most sickening of fears. Sana Cheema had been strangled to death. Her neck was not just broken, it was violently snapped. This was not a quick illness. It was a brutal, up-close, horrifying act of violence. The family's silence was not grief. It was guilt. Who was capable of such a cold, personal act? With the truth violently exhumed from the ground, the official investigation snapped into focus, pointing directly at the only people with the motive, the opportunity, and the driving force of so-called honor: her own family. The police immediately detained Sana's father, Ghulam Mustafa, her brother, Adnan Cheema, and her uncle. The initial denial was frantic, desperate. But the police had the forensic evidence, the visceral truth of a broken neck, and the testimony of friends and the Italian media who had been tracking Sana's desperate situation. The investigators pieced together the sequence of events, painting a terrifying picture of the final confrontation: the pressure, the arguments, the final unyielding refusal by Sana to marry a man she didn't love. Her declaration of independence was met not with understanding, but with a shocking, fatal act of patriarchal rage. The case became a cultural flashpoint, shining a harsh, uncomfortable light on the systemic injustice of honor killings, a monstrous tradition where a woman's life is valued less than a man's reputation. Sana's dual citizenship, her life in the Free West, made her case all the more symbolic, a tragic collision of modern liberty and ancient control. For the international community, the twist was not just in the crime, but in the blatant attempt to bury the crime under the false pretense of natural death, an attempt to use the remote location and the conservative culture as a shield for murder. The sheer audacity of the family's deception was a horrifying revelation in itself. The charges levied against Ghulam Mustafa, Adnan Cheema, and the uncle were swift and severe: murder. The trial in Pakistan became a media spectacle, a reflection of the deep-seated social issues plaguing the country. The defense offered little against the brutal physical evidence of the strangulation and the motive of the arranged marriage refusal. The final chapter of this tragic story, however, offers a complex, deeply unsettling form of justice. In a landmark decision, the court ultimately found Sana Cheema's father, Ghulam Mustafa, and her brother, Adnan Cheema, guilty of murder. The details of the uncle's involvement were debated, but the main culprits, the men who valued their honor over the life of their daughter and sister, were held accountable. The court's decision was a powerful, if small, victory against the suffocating shadow of the honor-killing epidemic. The fact that the case was pursued and that a conviction was secured was heavily influenced by the international attention, the pressure from Italian authorities, and the social media campaign that ensured Sana's voice, though silenced, was still heard. This case jolted an entire nation, reminding everyone of the progress still needed. While Pakistan had reformed its laws in 2016 to prevent killers from being pardoned by family members, a sickening loophole, Sana's story became a haunting reminder that laws on paper are meaningless without a change in the culture of control. Sana Cheema was 25, beautiful, ambitious, and in love. She was a bridge between two worlds, a testament to the possibility of a self-determined life. Her last moments were spent not fighting an illness, but fighting for her fundamental right to choose her partner, to live her life. We must remember Sana Cheema, not as a victim of a foreign illness, but as a martyr to an enduring social injustice. Her story lingers with us, forcing us to ask, what do we, as a global society, truly value more? A woman's life or a man's pride? If this tragic story shook you to your core, if it made you feel the piercing chill of this horrifying nightmare, please stay with us. Don't forget to like this video, share it to keep Sana's memory alive, and subscribe to MA Crime Files for more deep dives into the shadows of true crime. Your support helps us give a voice to those who were brutally silenced. Until next time, stay safe.